What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ethan. I hope you're having a great day. This Hustler Casino Live. We're back at playing the live stream. It's 25, 50, 100. Got our friend Mariano finally in the mix. Haven't seen him in a while. We get to splash it up together in some poker games. I'm gonna buy in for probably 50,000. So let's have a good time, gamble, and hopefully win. How about that? We're playing 25, 50, 100, and I have $50,000 in front of me here in this hand. And let's get into the action where the cutoff starts off raising to $400. Get the button to 3-bet to 1,600, and action folds to me, looking down at King Jack offsuit on the straddle. Well, to be honest, this hand just isn't great, but it does seem like I have some opportunities to do some bad things here. First off, it's almost an hour and a half into the session, and I've been a little bit card dead. Secondly, the cutoff and button are the two latest positions that might be raising. So ranges might be wider, they might be raising a little bit lighter, so time to experiment with a cold 4-bet. I bumped things up to 4,500, expecting all of the worst hands that they could be doing this with to fold, and I can easily take down the pot. Anyways, action folds around to Alec, and he freaking owns me by announcing all in. That is going to suck, facing a 5-bet jam with King Jack. Not ideal. I snap muck this one, and even worse, in real time, my opponent shows me an 8 for maximum ownage. Maybe he had a good read or something like that. Who knows? But we're starting off punting $4,500 to Alec. The next hand comes about 3 hours into the session. Yes, I have been so carded so far, trying to find spots to get involved. Well, here we are, where Jabril in the small blind raises to $1,500 with the 200 straddle on. I'm next to act with Jack 10 offsuit, and I am going to get in there 3-betting to 5,000. Trying to be aggressive today. I'm not in the mood for folding. Let's get in here, and Jabril ends up making the call. So we're going to a flop with 10,000 in the middle, which comes Queen 7, 6, 2 spades. Just a whole lot of nothing here for me, and Jabril leads for 7,000. Lead bets here with his hand. This isn't fun. I don't know what else I can do besides fold. So I guess this experiment, 3-betting, was once again a fail. I am down $10,000 already in these two hands. This session isn't going so hot so far. All right, I've been getting owned a lot here, but the next spot, will it happen again? Let's find out. The button raises to $550. The small blind now 3-bets to $1,500, and I pick up ace-8 of hearts in the straddle. If you haven't seen this so far, I am clearly not in the mood to fold, and let's bump it up once again and see how will I get punished this time. I raise things up to 4,000. I'm just a non-believer that these opponents have strong hands, and I'm happy to play a bigger pot in position of the small blind player. Action folds around to the big blind, and he ends up making the call. So we're going to battle once again against Jabril, and we're going to a flop of King 10-5 rainbow. Jabril checks it over to me, and I think overall, right, the hands that I will be 4-betting will really like this board. A lot of ace-kings, aces, king-queen, even king-jack, obviously, that I can 4-bet. So I decided to size small, thinking that I'm going to win this a lot of the time. I bet out 2,500. Like I said, expecting to win this all the time, unless he hits this board somehow. And it seems like he did, because he check raises to 12,000. Oh my god, I literally cannot snap fold any faster. Okay, I'm 0 for 3 with these hands so far. This is no fun. Ryan, please take me out of the game. I would really like to quit at this point. Not feeling so great. Moving on to this one, maybe a little bit more eventful. There's an only open to 300. The small blind and the big blind make the call, and I peel Queen 8 offsuit here, and why not call in 2 for an extra 200? Let's go to a flop which comes 8-8 deuce rainbow Bink City. Thank God I have trips in a strong hand. The big blind actually leads out for 1,000 here, and finally sitting with a good hand, I decided to just make the call. I don't want to scare off anyone else that might be interested in this pot, and action folds all the way around. So we're just going to go heads up to a turn, which is a deuce. Board pairs, I bowed up with the full house, and I actually don't like this, as I don't think I'm going to get a lot of action, or I'm going to chop the pot up a lot of the time. But anyways, Jabril thinks otherwise and bets out 3,000. Again, I'm happy to be a customer here in this situation, happy to just make the call, and we're going to a river, which is the Jack of Diamonds. And once again, my opponent throws out another bet of 3,000, the old same bets, which leads me to believe that my opponent isn't too strong, as in he doesn't have a full house. I'm not sure what Jabril could have here, but I'm guessing he might have a pocket pair or just ace high. Those hands I don't think are really able to call any raise here in this spot. So I decided to try to look bluffy and raise massive to $20,000. It's a massive sizing compared to the size of the pot, and my opponent goes into the tank here. He says he's a non-believer. He looks like he really wants to put in a call throughout this entire time thinking. Says he puts me on ace-king or some sort of nonsense holding I could have, and throughout this whole time, I'm just praying in my head, please call. I've been getting destroyed all day, as you can see, and if he makes the call, I would suddenly be in the black here. But he unfortunately announces fold out loud. Crap. So close of winning a monster pot here, sadly, but gotta give props to my opponent for making the right decision. I'll still win this pot though, so I'm not going to be complaining. Following that hand, this hand comes about 4 hours into the session, still card dead, but still trying to get involved. There's an ungun raise to $300. Our buddy Mariano on the button makes the call, small one makes the call, and I have queen jack off suit. Let's get in the mix, and Mike closes out the action of the call. So we're going multi-way, 5-6 ways to a flop we go of Jack, 10, 2 hearts. Flopping trips once again here, loving the situation. Action checks around to the ungun player who bets 800. Small one makes the call here, and I have a decision with a good kicker and trips. I actually decided to slow play this one, mainly because I think check raising against 2 players is going to be very strong, and, you know, let's just slow play and make the call. So we're going multi-way to a turn, which is the 10 of diamonds. Brings in a backdoor flush draw, and given that we're multi-way and stacks being so deep, I actually love this card because I think now I can get action from any 10 that has a full house. So trying to build a pot against a 10, and obviously chopping with any jack, I decided to lead into the field for 2,600. Well, we do get a customer. It's Will under the gun. He just makes the call, and we're going to a river, which is the 3 of spades. It's a total brick card here, and in my situation, it's time to get some value. Maybe overpairs could call. Maybe I can get a call from a 10, of course. And maybe Will can think I'm on a busted draw. I throw out a bet, sizing up to 7,000 at this point, and now Will takes his time to think things over and ultimately decides to announce all in. Well, I'm never folding with top boat, basically with the nuts behind quads. So I make the call, and I see good news, bad news. Bad news is that we chop, but good news is that I actually sucked out in order to do so. So all things considered, it was a very anticlimactic pot, but nice to suck out on this one and not get stacked. After that, chopping the full house, the very next shuffle and deal, I'm in the small one with ace-9 offsuit. Action folds to me, and I'm going to play this one through a raise. I make it $1,000. Henry on the straddle makes the call, and we're just going to a flop of 8-6-3 rainbow. It is brick city for me. Whole lot of nothing besides 2 overcards. I decide to check it over to Henry, and he checks this one back. Turn now comes an ace, which is really nice sitting with top pair. I don't see a whole lot of merit to betting here. I feel like betting would play my hand very face up. So I check it to Henry, who bets a pretty big size of 1,500. I go over my options here, and obviously I'm not folding. Calling could make a lot of sense, but I think about check raising. It seems really thin on the surface here, but when I think about it, this card introduced a lot of draws on the board that my opponent could have, and also hands that beat me, like ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king, doesn't exist a whole lot after Henry calls pre-flop. So with these dynamics, I thought, well, unbeknownst to me, that this would be a very good idea. So I size up with a check raise to $5,000, because you can see with the cards on screen, he has a pretty easy decision with a call. So this pot's getting big. Let's get spicy. The river comes a king. Overall, I think this is a brick. The only thing that this improves would be king high flush draws, which now might have to call a bet on the river. So overall, I think this card is better for me than my opponent, and that will lead me to size bigger. Granted, my hand doesn't really want to bet super big, but we're going to try it out. We're going to bet for value. I haven't been getting a whole lot of value today. I bet 12,000 and get snapped off by Henry. This can't be good news, and surely it is not. He shows me the ace-queen. I get owned, and I am just not very good at this game. I put $17,000 in the middle when I was basically drawing dead. Thought I was going for value, but just value owned myself. So this is how the stream ends up. I am down about $25,000 before we go play a little bit post-stream, and fireworks happen here. Starting things off post-stream, I pick up 10-9 of clubs in the cutoff. Mariano raises things up to $500, and we're playing about 5-handed here, so a little bit short-handed. Here, I want to be more aggressive, so I 3-bet to 2,000. Folds around to Mariano, and he actually ends up putting a 4-bet to 6,000. Here, getting a little bit dicey now already, but with 10-9 of clubs, it's a very good hand to potentially crack a strong one. So we're going to see a flop in position in a very big pot with over $12,000 in the middle already. The flop comes king, king, jack, 2 diamonds, and a club. Mariano starts off with a bet of 3,300, and here's my first decision. Do I want to call or do I want to fold? I mean, really mixed between the two. The sizing is kind of perfect where I feel a little bit indifferent between both options. On one hand, the board is paired. I have a gut shot straight draw. I have backdoor club draws. I could always go for it. And, I'm stuck, which leads me to put money in the middle. I make the call and we see a turn, which is the queen. Offsuit queen turning the straight. And weirdly enough, Mariano actually decides to check. Now I have another decision point, whether I want to bet or check, now hitting my gutter. And all things considered, my opponent is just going to have a very strong hand a lot of the time here, at least a stronger range. I think he's going to have all the queens, the jacks, full houses. So I decide to check this one back and disguise the strength of my hand here. We're going to a river, which is a complete brick deuce of clubs. Now Mariano decides to bet 4,400, which is very, very small. I expected him to bet a very large sizing, considering how strong his hands could be. So here sitting with the straights, I think things over, talking to myself whether I can raise here in this spot for value, and ultimately thought better of it. Happy to just make the call. Raising seems a little bit dicey, and good thing I didn't raise because he shows pocket queens. Yikes. Pretty sick cooler to a certain degree. I obviously didn't have to get involved with this hand and lose all this money. But I did. At least I lost a small amount on the river. Moving on, this game post-stream has now moved on to 3-handed. There's going to be a lot of action here, 3-handed, and we're on the button with Queen 10 of hearts. I raise things up to $300, and both of my opponents decide on a call. We're going to a flop of King Jack 4 rainbow with 1 heart, and the small blind leads for $400 in this spot. Mariano ends up folding, and here in position, I think this is really strange, and I don't think my opponent is really allowed to lead this often, especially on a board like this. So should be better for me. I'm going to be ramping up the pressure. I raise it up to 1,500 with my open-ended draw, and my opponent ends up making the call. So pot's building here. The turn is the 8 of spades. Sadly, not a heart, but it is a backdoor flush draw. My opponent checks over to me now, and I am going to continue blasting like I have a strong hand. I also have a very strong draw, to be fair, but I'm going to bet 2,500. And sizing up here for 2,500, my opponent ends up making the call once again. River comes A3. Do not get there with my straight. Do not hit a pair. This is no good for me. And even worse, my opponent leads for 7,000. Very large lead here, and I think, look, I'm stuck. I want to win this pot. My opponent has about $20,000 behind, and I'm gotta have bluffs along with all the other really strong hands I could have, like King Jack and sets. So I announce all in. He snap calls. Wow, all of a sudden, this is over a $50,000 pot in which I am losing because he has King 8. Oh God, a $27,000 mistake on the river here. Maybe I did not think out my thoughts clearly, but this is how I lose a lot of money here. I'm buried now. I pay him $27K, and the night is about to end, which feels pretty bad. Before this last hand, I am playing heads up versus Mariano. For one reason or other, that third player got up from the table, went to go to the bathroom. So instead of waiting for him, we played a few hands of heads up poker, and I pick up jacks on the big blind. He raises it up on the button to 300. I 3-bet to 1,200, which is a little bit small. He's in here with the call. Flop comes queen 6, 7, 2 clubs. I c-bet 1,000, and he raises now to 4,400. This is where I start recording because I have a decision to make. Didn't expect to play a massive pot against our buddy, but here we are with jacks. I don't think I can fold just yet, although it's a little bit strange and suspicious. I make the call. Turn comes the 9 of spades, brings in 2 flush draws. And I check it over to him, and my opponent bets 12,000. Sizing way the hell up. And I know Mariano, a very capable opponent. He's obviously very good. He can find bluffs in any situation he can be in. So with jacks, maybe being a little bit sticky, I decide on a call. Now we're going to a river, which is the queen of hearts. So all the draws missed. It's more unlikely my opponent can have a queen. And I check it to him one more time. He fires out a bet of $50,000. Yikes. I'm in the tank now. I am thinking things over. And this is a very tough spot. Jacks here is a pretty weak hand. But like I said, Mariano is very capable of finding bluffs all over the place. And as someone who is not very experienced in heads-up poker, I feel like you're going to have to be calling wider than usual. So is jacks a hand that falls into that category of calling? The thing is, I don't really know what to do. Seems like Mariano here is kind of repping a full house as played. I don't see many straights on the board. That's a possibility. So I don't know. Full houses are kind of hard to make. And it's unlikely now with the queen out there that he'll have like, queen X, queen 8, queen 9, queen 7. So I'm kind of lost here in this spot. My brain kind of just starts to spaz out and shut down. And when that happens, I default on putting chips in the middle, because what's the worst thing that could happen? I give my friend a whole lot of money, and maybe I get to use it in a title of this video, potentially. So here we are. Those are my honest thoughts. I call, I'm stubborn, and he shows the 8-5 of clubs. And that, my friends, is a straight flush draw on the flop. He gets there with the nuts basically on the turn and gets max value from someone who couldn't fold one pair. GG's Mariano, you deserve this one. I guess now we're even after winning the big hand we played a couple months ago where I also had jacks. But here we are. I lose a $136,000 pot, in for $150,000 in this game, and I'm out for a whole lot less. We're going to the outro. Just can't seem to win right now. Can't seem to win right now. Biggest L of the night. In a heads-up pot versus Mariano. We don't really ever play heads-up, and I've never really played heads-up cash before, but it seemed like being sticky is the move, and it costed me a lot. So, I don't know what to say. That's it. I can't win. I feel a little numb to the losses right now. After the stream, just like torched it all. Just punted it off. That sucks. I was in the game for 150,000. Out of the game for 37,700. That's a high number. Minus 112K. Love it. Just love it. Not having the best start to the year, and it's also kind of painful to make these videos and broadcast to the world that I am getting fucked because I'm down a lot now this year. But one way to crawl back is to keep on playing. So next video, I'm going to play Friday Night at Hustler, because why not? So 100, 200, probably with a $400 straddle. And let's hope to win, because I have no other options. Let's just hope to win. Or maybe I go broke. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. This was a painful one.